Okay, if I could have your attention here in the deadline room, we'll continue on with today's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series media availability. We're now joined by Ryan Blaney, driver of the number 21 Motocraft Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center Ford for Wood Brothers Racing. Now, Ryan, you spent a day up in New York City yesterday, and now you're in Talladega, Alabama. Could you just walk us through what went on in New York and some of the cool things you got to do?
Yeah, NASCAR had myself, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, and Eric Jones up to New York to do some, promotional things for not only the Talladega race, but for, the sport in general. So that was really neat to do. I enjoy New York personally for 2 or 3 days at a time, and then I have to leave there. But why is that? I don't like to be in the city very much. There's a lot of people there, but it was great. We did Fox and Friends, which was very cool. We had to be up at 6 a.m. though, so that was rough. But and then we did multiple things throughout the day. My favorite, I got to go to Marvel. That was pretty cool. It was their comic headquarters. It's where they kind of draw it all and make the new ones. So that was really neat personally for me to go do. So I'm hoping to be able to go back and do that again and learn more about it. But we did some great things, and NASCAR does a great job of getting not only younger drivers but drivers in general out there and promoting whether it's the upcoming race or the sport. So I enjoy going and do that stuff, and I think it's really helpful for the sport as well.
Okay, let's open up the floor for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. We'll start here with Chase and then go to Bob. Actually, let's start with Bob, and then we'll go with Chase.
Bob Hucker, ESPN. Plate races for the last decade have pretty much been won by drivers with more than 100 starts. Is there any of those drivers that you've learned anything more from?
Yeah, I feel like personally right now, in the past 4 or 5 years, I feel like Brad has been one of the best plate racers out there, and they've showed that, especially in the past 2 years. Him and his spotter, they have a great, communication side to where they know what's coming and they can anticipate things. So Brad's really good at that. Joey Meyer, his spotter, is great at predicting runs and things like that. So being a teammate with Brad and kind of watching him, what he does, that has really been helpful to me. I feel like we've had pretty decent runs, but I've never felt like we've been at that point where he's at, to where they have that kind of dominance the whole race. I feel like he can get out there and control the whole race, and that you don't see that very often, and he's really the one person I feel like who can do that in recent years. But I have to definitely watch him, and we learned a lot of stuff in the off season, so hopefully we can apply it. And I feel like Daytona was a good run for us, so I think bringing that over will be good.
Go next to Chase and then to Claire.
Chase Wellen, FoxSports.com. So after everything we've seen with Joey Logano and the 22 team and the penalty, what are your thoughts on the encumbered win rule?
I really haven't put too much thought into that. All these teams, no matter if it's the Penske Group, Hendrick Group, Gibbs Group, every single team tries to push their cars to the limit. And that's what this sport's about, is trying to get that little bit of advantage. And sometimes, the way the race goes, it doesn't you kind of get caught with something that is minute at the end of these races. But that's just the way it goes. You've seen it all throughout racing, and no matter what form of motorsport. But I'll be honest, I don't really know too much about the encumbered finish rule, so I probably wouldn't be able to give the best answer on that.
Go to your right to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I have a question and then a follow-up. One thing is, I'm wondering how much more comfortable you feel at a place like Talladega. You never really completely shake this place out, no matter how many years you've been here. But do you feel much more comfortable here?
I do. I feel like coming to these races, a lot of people say that, it's kind of up to fate and just it's lucky and you can't really control your destiny, which that is partially true, but you can really kind of control what you're doing here more than people realize, I feel like. And you see it with, there's people winning these races that win them all the time, and there's a reason for that. It's not that they're lucky time after time. They know what to do and they know how to get out front. And like I said, we haven't really mastered that yet. I feel like we do maybe a B-grade job at it, but it's a matter of getting that little bit extra more. So I feel pretty comfortable. I go back to Brad and his spotter and myself and my spotter, Josh Williams, I feel like have gotten a lot better throughout the last couple of years that we've been working together at these speedway tracks. And bringing fast cars also helps as well. But we feel pretty comfortable. We need a good run, to be honest with you. The last 2 weeks have been rough, finish-wise, where I feel like we've actually had pretty okay cars, and we'll just try not to get in trouble and hopefully get a good run and get back on track.
Also pretty impressive how you recap the Star Wars movies in 2 minutes, and I wonder, you got a lot of reaction from that. How did you plan for that, and it just came naturally? Nice job.
Well, thanks. Well, how that came about, we were shooting some stuff with Daryl Mott and Bubba Wallace and myself, and I was driving my bus somewhere. They were just shooting something with me, driving my motor home, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to just recap these films," which was great, and I had no problem doing it. Something I enjoy, if you didn't know, and I think that turned out really well. Honestly, I forgot about it for the longest time until it came out yesterday, and I thought it was pretty funny how it came out, so that was good, and it did get a positive reaction. Usually when I put stuff up about Star Wars or, comic stuff or Marvel, and it doesn't really get that big of a reaction. People are just like, yeah, whatever. But I felt like that did fairly well, and it was kind of funny. So that was pretty cool for those guys to go do. I think that was Daryl Mott's idea, and that turned out pretty cool.
Okay, we're going to go to Lee and then to Caleb.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. You guys had a bit of a media tour yesterday, and there's obviously a push to get the young drivers in front of different forms of media. Do you feel part of the responsibility to kind of bridge the relationship between the fans and the drivers for the next generation of drivers and fans?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it. Personally, I feel like the younger drivers, they have what's NASCAR trying to always reach, right? A younger fan base. And they've implemented things in the past couple of years to try to get that. And they do a great job at pumping out young drivers to try to connect with that younger fan and show that, we're your age, we're early 20s, and you should become a fan of NASCAR. And that's the stuff that NASCAR does. And I like I said, I enjoy doing that stuff and trying to grow the sport back to a younger fan base. And I feel like that's a big responsibility of ours. Whether it's us four that were at New York yesterday, to Daniel Suarez, Ty Dillon, Joey Logano, and Austin Dillon, who have been in it for a little bit, they're mid-20s, so they're still really young. So I do feel like we're kind of obligated to try to build that younger fan base up, and what better people to connect with than kids who are their same age, pretty much.
We'll keep it in the back right to Caleb.
Caleb Whistler, Speedway Digest. Could you just assess the first quarter of the season for you and the Wood Brothers team?
Yeah, I mean, we started off the year really, really strong. And I feel like where we didn't get great finishes in the first 6-7 races, we had really good cars and could never, whether things happen and not get the finish we deserve. But I'd say our season started off really strong. And like I said, the past 2 weeks have been kind of rough on us. Bristol was a shame. We were really, really fast and then had that power steering issue. And then we had to ride around there for 300 laps to the end of the race. But and then Richmond, I thought we were going to actually salvage a really good finish out of that after not being very good all day, after running 18th all day. I think we drove up to 8th and got the car better, and then Kurt wrecked us. So I feel like those are the things we need if we don't run well. 3/4 part of the race is to keep working on our car to try to finish well and salvage finishes. That's what we were going to do last week, and that's I feel like what we didn't have last year. I feel like if we ran bad last year in the first portion of the race, we stayed there all day. So this year I feel like we've gotten a lot better at that. But I'm pretty happy with how the Wood Brothers team is working together right now and where our performance is. It's just about, like I said, getting back on track right now and getting the finishes that we deserve. I feel like there's a lot of great racetracks for us coming up that we can definitely capitalize on.
Additional questions for Ryan? Ryan, thanks for taking the time to join us today, and may the
Thanks.
5th be with you.
Yeah, Revenge of the 5th, man, yeah.
If I can have your attention here in the deadline room, we'll continue on with today's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series media availability. And we're now joined by Kyle Larson, driver of the number 42 Sharon Ice Cold Coke Chevrolet for Chip Ganassi Racing. Kyle comes into this race as your Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series points leader. Kyle, what's this experience been like for you, leading the points through a significant part of the season? How has that changed your perspective as a driver?
Yeah, it's been cool. I expected to. I wanted to start the season off good. I didn't know I would start the season off being the point leader and carrying it through like we have been. But it's just been a lot of fun to show up to the racetracks. Now we've got a fast car and capable of winning almost every race. So just got to keep myself got to keep working hard. Everybody at the race shop needs to keep working hard to build on what we currently have and make it even better. So just enjoying my time right now and having fun each and every week, and hopefully we can have some more solid runs and continue to lead the points.
All puns intended. Does it make you feel like you have a target on your back?
Not this weekend. We gotta share an ice cold Coke, so no target.
Okay, we're going to start over here on the right with Mike, and then we'll come over here to Chase.
Mike Hembry from USA Today. Kyle, there's been a lot of theories here over the years about how you should race, stay at the back and be safe maybe, or you're safer at the front, whatever, a lot of different views on that. Is the stage racing, you think, going to change some points of view on that?
I guess. I mean, we had stage racing at Daytona. I feel like a lot of stuff I've read this week, it's like people forgot that we had stage racing at Daytona. But yeah, I mean, I think we saw more teams racing the full race at the 500. I think you typically have 8 to 10 guys that ride around the back normally at races like this. But now with having 20 points on the line, 2 bonus points on the line throughout the first half of the race, it seems like we get more people to race. So that I think stage racing's definitely helped everywhere, but especially the super speedways to kind of make us have to race. But in the past, I've always ran hard. I've never held back anything. So we'll continue to do the same.
Okay, we'll go to Chase, then to Bob, then to Lee.
Chase Will on FoxSports.com. Kyle, given what happened to Joey Logano and the 22 team, the encumbered win, what are your thoughts on the encumbered win rule?
I don't know. I don't really worry about that. I don't really have an opinion because I race and I drive the car, and however the tech stuff works, that's how it works. So I don't really worry about it a whole lot.
Bob?
Bob Pockris, ESPN. I'm going to follow up a little bit on that. Maybe that you can might be able more to relate. I mean, Joey loses the 5 playoff points that he would have had. How big a deal is that, and does that make you look at things like when you guys talk about how, if you're even involved in the conversations about how far to push things?
Yeah, like I'm not involved in all that stuff, so that's why I don't really care about it all. But yeah, I mean, 5 bonus points is huge. That could be the difference of making it to Homestead. You never know. So, the 5 bonus points is big. I almost think, the penalty needs to be. I'm not saying the penalty needs to be bigger, but there's more points on the line throughout the race now with the stages and stuff. So, 25 regular season points doesn't really seem all that big to me, because you can gain 20, in the first half of a race. So, I was reading some of that, and I. Back in the day, or not back in the day, but last year's points, 25 would have been pretty significant. Now with the way stage racing is, I honestly don't feel like 25 points is that much. I know their infraction was pretty minor, but they did get hit with a big penalty. So I don't know, but the 5 bonus points, taking that away is definitely big.
We'll go to your right to Lee.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Since you've been running so well this season, have you seen any interest or perhaps a bump in sponsorship interest from companies in your program?
I mean, that's also something I stay out of. I just worry about the driving part of things. I know Loletta and all the other marketing people at Chip Ganassi Racing kind of deal with that stuff. I haven't talked to them really at all about it. But we've definitely been, with running well, I've been in front of the camera a lot more, and I feel like that kind of stuff helps, gain sponsors and keep sponsors that we currently have happy. So, I don't know. I guess I'd have to ask now. I didn't really think about all that.
Go to the right to Caleb.
Caleb Whistler, Speedway Digest. Being the points leader through the first quarter of the season, how would you assess this first quarter?
It's been good. We got we had 3 consecutive second place finishes that led to the win, and then we got another second place finish after that. So 4 second place finishes and a win to start. I think our average finish is like basically 6th. So it's been a solid start to the year. We just got to continue to keep working hard. It's a really long season. Teams get better and worse throughout the year, so we just got to continue to dig deep and build on what we have right now to get better and hopefully challenge for some more wins.
Additional questions for Kyle? Okay, Kyle. Oh, we have one right there. Let's get to Dustin. I see your hand there, buddy.
Kyle, Dustin Long, NBC Sports. What do you feel like you learned from Daytona, or you got even better at with plate racing that maybe can translate here? And are you finding a little bit more respect on the track as you have more and more continued success?
Yeah, I thought we had a great speed weeks. I think our team had put a little bit more emphasis in our super speedway program, and we had more speed. I thought at Daytona I was able to get to people's back bumpers, where in the past I could never do that, and I would always get kind of hung out if I was the last guy in line. It was hard for me to stay with the draft, where now I feel like I could get pretty racy at Daytona. And with that, I felt like I learned a ton. I was able to get to the lead a few times during that race, and where I've never really gotten to do that before. So, putting myself in position to be up front was big, and like I said, I learned a lot. And I think they made some small adjustments and stuff to our cars to hopefully get some more speed. So we'll see if we're got the same sort of speed as we did the 500, and maybe learn some more again, and try and put that into work. And as far as respect out on the track and stuff like that, I think as each year you get a little bit more. My first year, rookie, you got the rookie stripe. Nobody follows you, and that's why you always get shuffled back and get caught up in wrecks and stuff. But each year I feel like I get more and more people to kind of follow you, and yeah, I think that helps a lot. You see Dale Jr., he's extremely fast at these places because he's friends with everybody in the field, and everybody follows him.
Can you give a sense of, you said you learned a lot at Daytona this year, but what you learned by running in the front as opposed to running in the middle? I mean, obviously you're learning in the past plate races also.
Yeah, I think what I learned at Daytona was how to kind of start a run and continue that momentum to get to the lead. I've never really, before the 500, I never really was in position to pass somebody for the lead. I would always I could work my way up to 6th, 7th, 8th, around there, but then I'd kind of stall out. Where at the 500, I thought that, yeah, I mean, and it showed I led some laps, so I was able to kind of learn how to make runs and get to lead. Sometimes those runs would kind of disappear because I would make mistakes trying to get them. And then also, being in the lead, I never got to lead before, so I didn't really know how to manipulate the lines and stuff like that. And you got to be extremely aggressive as the leader, blocking and stuff like that. So I made some mistakes and lost the lead, but was able to get back to the lead. And had I had not run out of fuel at the 500, I thought I had learned enough throughout the race that nobody would have passed me on that final lap. But you never know either. So. Yeah, like I said, I felt like I learned a lot. That's probably the super speedway race where I felt like I learned the most.
Any additional questions here for Kyle Larson? Kyle, thanks for taking the time to join us today, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
If I could have your attention here in the Media Center, we'll continue on with today's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series media availability. And we're joined by none other than Chase Elliott, driver of the number 24 Hooters Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. A lot going on here for Chase this weekend. He's fresh off a trip to New York City. He comes in here bringing Hooters back into the sport. You have that Chase Wins You Wing program with Hooters24.com. You're wearing a pair of shoes that commemorates your dad's record-setting pole run here 30 years ago. And it's your third Chase U event of the season. Where do you find the time, my friend?
Yeah, it's been a busy week for sure. Excited about all the programs we have going on. Really cool with having Hooters on the car this weekend. Happy to have them back. I think it's a great thing for our team for sure, but I think just the sport in general. Hooters has such a great history within racing, not just in the NASCAR world, but you know, I have a lot of respect for them and their sponsorship of the Pro Cup Series when they had it going on, kind of going back to the short track world, and when they were showing their support there, which I think is really cool. So happy to have them on board. Excited for the program. If we win on Sunday, everybody gets a free appetizer at Hooters, which is pretty cool. And if we finish 2nd through 5th, I think everybody gets a free Mountain Dew. So great opportunity for us and everybody else. So hopefully we can do that.
Okay, we're going to open the floor up for questions. If you have a question for Chase, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. We'll start here with Bob and then go to Chase.
Bob Honkers, ESPN. Most of the recent restrictor plate races have been won by veterans, guys who have more than 100 starts. We know you have fast cars, and a lot of the young guys do, but how come, why does experience seem to matter so much, and who are you taking the most mental notes from?
Good question. I know I can count on you for the stats today. No, I don't know. I mean, I look at the way our car drove at Daytona, the speed that it had in it. You know, I was really pleased with that. And you know, if it was a Daytona 497, I think we'd have been all right. So I've been really happy with our Speedway program in particular. I feel like we've made it better. Really, I thought the 500 this year was our best performance on a plate track. So I hope we can bring some of that here. I don't know why those guys win. I mean, it's a good question, but I have no idea. I can't say that I'm going to do my job any differently because the guys with a lot of starts have won the past number of races. I mean, I think Brad and Joey seem to have won a lot of them over the past few years, and they've done a good job of mastering plate racing. And I think there's always something you can look at and learn from guys like that who have won a lot of these things here recently. But in a long-term history, I don't know why that is.
We're going to go to your left here to Chase, then to Lee, then to Dustin.
Chase Will, Foxsports.com. So as you know, NASCAR declared Joey Logano's win encumbered last week. He loses playoff points, but he keeps the win. What are your thoughts on the encumbered win rule?
I'm still trying to figure out what encumbered means. So I'm not real sure, but I'm not involved with their team. I don't know what they had going on. I find it hard to believe that, whatever they had going on made him win the race. I mean, we ran 13th or about 13th to 15th the majority of the day, and Joey was right in front of me the majority of the day. So he wasn't. I didn't think he was as good as Brad was, but they did a great job. His crew chief making the right calls and him getting up on the wheel at the end to win. If whatever they had going on helped him, I'd be surprised. I mean, it is big, but at the same time, I mean, Joey's fast every week, and he's one of those guys that can win any weekend. So I'm sure he's going to have plenty more opportunities to win before we get to Richmond.
Okay, we'll go next to Lee.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Your dad won Most Popular Driver 16 times. What advice did he give you as far as reaching out to the fans and establishing that bond?
Yeah, he's. I think with him, he had such a great connection to just your everyday group around the Southeast, and from what he came from, not having a whole lot, to how he and his family went about racing. I think that was a connection that people had with him, and they could jump on board because they were just a bunch of guys from the hills of North Georgia that happened to show up and compete and ended up being really good at it. And they did it their own way. They didn't ask for anybody else's help. They did it their own deal. So it's definitely a different world. I've been very lucky to grow up in the house that I live in with my dad and his family and my mom and the racing history there. So I'll be the first one to tell you I'm very lucky and have had great opportunities because of that. I still think you have to do the job that is at hand behind the wheel to stay here and to be around. But I think from a fan's perspective, just one thing he kind of has always talked about is, you may show up to events and you might have some folks that don't care to be there or some folks that do care to be there, but if there's just one person there that you could change their day and, make their day worth coming for or getting up for, then our job is good. At the end of the day, I think we've done our part. So all it takes is one person, and I agree with that. I think if you can change one person's day for the better, I think it's all worth it.
Going to go to the middle to Dustin and then to Claire.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. A couple things. Chase, you've led laps at plate tracks before, but obviously had another good run at Daytona. What did running up at the front, how did that help you progress, and what did you kind of learn, kind of carry forward? And secondly, if you can talk about the shoes and kind of why the shoes and where they came from and the story behind that, please.
Yeah, no, like I said before, I thought the 500 this year was our best performance at a plate track for sure. Just the more time I think you spend racing, we got to race in the Clash this year, which was just more time on track. Got to race in the in the 150s, which is more time on track, which I think just never hurts. So anytime you can get around those guys that win these things a lot, I think it's helpful. And as time has gone on, I've had some good opportunities to race around those guys and hopefully pick up on some things here and there, and also try to learn things for yourself kind of in your own way, and you can file away and hopefully have one up on them at some point down the road is the end goal. So hopefully we can progress and turn our run, do what we did at Daytona and just try to make it a little better at the end of the day. But as far as the shoes go, really excited about them. I would take them off and show you, but that'd take me a minute to get them off. I posted a picture on my Instagram if anybody's interested in looking at them, but just really cool. It was 30 years ago this weekend. Dad ran 212 here in that old Coors car, which I think is really, really cool. That car, he still has a few of his Coors cars in the shop, and I always think it's pretty neat to look at them and see how they were built, what they put into them, and just how simple everything was. It was just that they just tried to simplify things as best they could. They were kind of in their own box with having the spoiler laid back as far as it could possibly go, and like he says, they just didn't know any better, so they did it their own way and did really good at it. So I think it's really cool and a great part of racing history in general. And obviously, I'm a little biased because it's my dad.
Go to the right to Claire, and then we'll go to Rick.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You were talking about your dad and how they just went and raced it their way. Do you feel, and I think maybe it's a really cool thing, the pressure of the sport on your shoulders right now? Those guys, when they were young, didn't think about, exemplifying a new generation. They just went out and did it. Do you feel like you're kind of carrying the sport as a young driver, and is that exciting to you?
I can't say that I do, really. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, Dad, like I was saying about them and the way they went about their race, and I feel like I've tried to apply that to my racing and not so much worrying about everybody else. And, when we would go short track race or legend car race, we made it a point to show up and park as far away from everybody else as we could, just because we didn't care what they were doing and we didn't want to be involved with what they had going on and all the cliques and the groups and all the mess that goes on in the garage area. It's like high school some weeks. So, I think in a lot of ways just staying away from that stuff is great, and I try to apply that to my racing, be me. I want fans to follow it for sure. I'd love to have their support, but it's their choice. If it's genuine, I think it's great. That's my only request. I want it to be genuine for whoever they want to pull for, whether it's me, great. If it's somebody else, great. But, find that connection you have with somebody, make it genuine, make it something you want to be a part of. And that's what racing's all about, is finding your guy. So whoever it is, great.
You don't feel the responsibility or the feel that you need to...
I just feel the responsibility to do my job, and try to go fast and, try to give ourselves chances to win races, and hopefully the rest of it will take care of itself.
Okay, we're going to stay on the right to go to Rick and then to Caleb.
Rick, Mid-Atlantic Constitution. Chase, would you give an opportunity, would you drive that 212 car around here wide open today?
I don't know that I could handle it, but I would definitely try for sure. I'd love to give it a shot, but I don't know that I would have what it takes to hold her wide open. I mean, that's not easy, back then. And those things, they laid the spoiler back. I remember, Dad telling me stories, they basically just kept leaning it back until he just couldn't take it anymore, and that was how they figured out when to stop. So he just kept pushing the limit till he couldn't drive it, which is pretty cool, really. Would it be unsafe? It would probably be less safe than what we have in our cars today with the seats and everything, but it'd still be really cool, in my opinion, regardless.
Okay, we'll go to Caleb.
Caleb Whistler, Speedway Digest. How would you assess your season through the first quarter?
I think we've had some ups and downs. I feel like we fired off really well with the way we ran at Daytona and Atlanta. I thought our West Coast swing was pretty strong. I feel like over the past few weeks we haven't really performed up to our potential as a group. I think anybody in our group would feel the same way. We've had some fast cars at times. We've had our car driving good. Other weeks not so much. But we definitely need to execute races. Even on the days that your car is not driving like you want it to be, that execution and doing everything correctly on pit road, restarts, given the right information can turn a bad day into a pretty good day. Really, you could have like last week, for instance, we ran not very good and, just inside 15th, not quite inside the top 10 the majority of the day, and we got towards the end of the day, we had opportunity to finish up and well inside the top 10 if we had just executed a little bit better. So that's what we need to do, and we know we need to do that, and we'll try to make that happen.
Any additional questions for Chase? Right here on the left.
Chase, Joe Goodman with AL.com. So you were 7 years old when Dale Earnhardt Jr. was first voted most popular driver. He's won 14 in a row. How do you think the sport is going to change, and how are drivers going to have to change when he leaves the sport?
Well, he's won 14 now, right? So I still think it's pretty cool. Dad has 16, so he's not going to beat that, which I think is pretty cool. I'm biased, but I don't know. I think Dale's been a great ambassador for our sport, and I have a lot of respect for him in a lot of different ways. But he definitely, going through all the things he's gone through, and to still be the person that he is today, it'd be so easy to go off down a bad path, I think, in his situation when going through the things he went through and having the opportunities he had. It'd be easy to not treat people right or do things wrong. So I commend him for his efforts there and doing things the right way over the years from when he started all the way to now. And I think he's a better person now than he's ever been. And I think every day, that just continues to get better. You see all the things he does with his community and everything else. So whether you're Dale racing cars, Tom Brady playing football, LeBron playing basketball, nobody can play or race forever. So at some point it's going to change. It's part of life. And luckily for the fans of our sport, there's a lot of young guys that have a lot of talent that are coming up that are not just racing in Cup right now, but are in the Xfinity Series, trucks, and even a lot more guys that are racing in the short track world that unfortunately will probably never ever get a chance, that deserve it way more than a lot of people here that could be here doing just as good of a job, if not better, than anybody else. So a lot of people to pull for, and there's no reason why we can't find people to pull for as a fan moving forward, because there's a lot of great people to choose from.
Any additional questions for Chase? Chase, thanks for taking the time to join us, and good luck this weekend.
All right, thank you.
Back in the day, I don't